Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Jacquelene Close-Moore and you're on A1R Psychic Radio and Moonstruck TV. I'm coming to you from Williamstown in Melbourne. It's been flooding. I actually looked out the driver window as we're going along the road and I thought, are we in Bali? Like, what's happening here? It's sunny, well, overcast, it's warm, it's humid. There's like water on the road. It's just like, wondering when Noah's going to bring that ark down. So today I'm going to talk a bit about the tarot. I'm going to start bringing some of that in because I'm sort of using this as a teaching forum at the moment. And then, we'll see how we go with that. So with the tarot, I'm going to introduce that first card, but I'm also going to talk about the elements. We'll see how much time I've got each time to do this. I'm going to impart a bit of that because there are different tools we all use as psychics, as mediums, and empaths. And sometimes having tarot can actually be a very powerful tool energetically. It's not just, hey, look, it's a card, static meaning. Yeah, although there is, technically a static meaning, it's really about allowing the imagery to speak to you. So when I'm looking at tarot cards, I'm not just seeing, like in this card, I've got, Ace of Cups. She's like, hi, just looking in the pot there, seeing what's there. I won't just see the static image. I'll actually see perhaps, these trickling lights coming down or going up. Or maybe, one boob is covered. Maybe the cloth is wiggling along. Maybe her hair is doing something interesting as I'm doing the reading. So quite often for me, what is the static card? Could be a combination of ADHD, dyslexia and my gifts. But I actually see that card as if it's moving like a video screen, like there's a movie playing in it. You think, sort of think of the Harry Potter movies where the photographs and paintings of magical people would actually be moving around and they'd be like doing this and, whatever in the photograph instead of the muggles are just like that, they're not even looking. Whereas, with magical people, they move around. And there's actually one lady that I really looked up to that was a reader years and years ago. Whenever you looked at her photograph, it's like she was always on a 3/4 view, and she was a very Celtic lady, and she'd just, all of a sudden she'd turn around and go, like, that did you, and then go back. And you're like, what the hell? I'd never had anyone do that in a photograph before. And then when I met her, I sort of went, that's why, because she's actually quite an amazing witch. Very, very renowned lady. Her name was Kerry Culkin. Tell you what, she had a kick-ass sense of humour. But let's get on to this tarot stuff. I'm going to introduce each card, like each of the cards each week. And with the tarot, they actually link, like the major arcana cards, actually link to certain keys on the Kabbalah Tree of Life. And the Kabbalah Tree of Life links to the Torah, of course. And so there's all about the moving of energy that goes through that. But also in the tarot, you've got the 4 suits. So you've got swords, you've got, wands, you've got cups, although that's obviously a vase. And then we've got pentacles. So when we think of these elements, when we think of swords, well, what element would swords be? Well, some people sort of go on about it being fire. And I'm like, I don't know. Wands looks like fire to me because they're made of wood. Well, what does wood do? Well, it grows if it's on a tree, but you take that off the tree and you can actually make fire out of it. So when I come to swords, I'm actually using air. So if we look at the Ace of Swords, for example, which is, when I'm getting up into wands, I'll talk about that more, but you can sort of see it's like, cutting straight through stuff. I'm just moving this across. There we go. Bit like life, really. Very wobbling life. I really can't stand this. I'm not comfortable. But it's about cutting ties, the ties that aren't working for you. And you can sort of see the bands of ties going on there. Oh, I'm having fun with cards today. This Mercury retrograde type. Can I bring it into focus? That's the next question. There we go. So you can sort of see the ties across the front of that sword. And it's like, cutting it through. So when you mean business and you get down to it and you're trying to show video screens of elements, it's very interesting. Ace of Wands, we sort of look at the creativity in that. Like, oh, look, inspiration from the clouds above. Coming down, yeah. To love what you do. So we think of that Ace of Cups. like all the golden opportunity coming out of there as well. And the Ace of Pentacles, usually, by the way, Ace of Cups is all about love. But when we look at the Ace of Pentacles, it's like new opportunities. And of course, the Pentacle is a coin. Yeah. So that's earth element. It's prosperity. It can be money. So that can be a new job. Whereas the Ace of Cups, like my cup run, you know, it's like here's a real activity of love going on. You know, loving what we're doing. Sort of a feeling of abundance in that, in a way. But it's a different feeling to the Ace of Pentacles. So cups will be water. Pentacles will be earth. So actually there's 4 elements and 4 seasons. So some decks you see, some oracle decks that are based on tarot, you actually see it's like on the 4 of autumn or the 4 of summer or winter, you know, spring. And so I think of spring, you know, as pentacles. And if I'm facing that to a direction, I actually use the north because I just do. There's a whole range of reasons. If I'm looking into the natural element itself, so earth, gnomes, so fairies of the forest, kind of thing. Maybe trolls, if you want to go a bit dark there. With cups, I'm going to be talking about undine, so the water spirit. If I'm talking about wands, fire, that's salamanders, you know, and lizardy type creatures. If I'm dealing with swords, I'm dealing with sylphs, so your butterflies, that sort of thing. Fire, I'm going to go more your dragons as well. So maybe a Komodo dragon, don't get too close to those. They're toxic bite. It's really saliva on the tongue that kills you. Back to that full card. So what is the full card? So people sort of go, oh, does that mean you're a twit? Well, could be, but no. If we look at inspiration or divine madness, it's sort of a great challenge, isn't it? Like, is genius and madness are inextricably linked. So the Fool looks like he's going to fall off the old card. Looks like he's going to fall off that cliff. There we go. Actually, he's not. He's being divinely guided. And he's sort of looking at the butterflies like, da, 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 da. So the Fool is like the start of the journey of the tarot. And it links to Tav in the Kabbalah. And so I'm just going to read from this. A Jew whose soul has its source in God itself is naturally humble. By losing his humility, that which has been given to him, an individual throws away his connection to his soul and is considered a fool. The tribe of Dan thus had the ability to return the holiness and humility, the Ma, to the other tribes of Israel. So it's you know, when we look at this, like, well, who is a fool? You know, one who loses what Ma has given to him. On a deeper level, concept of what has been given to him, represented by the Hebrew word Ma, denotes a state of humility. One who is humble says, Ma, what am I? I am nothing before God. So if we look at this sort of sense of intuition and developing intuition, it's like setting out in that journey that might not make logical sense, but actually it makes complete intuitive sense. So we sort of see the dog going along with him as well. It's like, you know, he's not alone, and he's got the abundance in that, you know, that sack on his pole. You know, he's carrying his goodies along with him. But he does seem like he's a little bit, you know, floating along, not quite watching where everything is. But somehow he doesn't fall off that cliff because he's trusting where he's been taken. So, you know, we look at the simplicity of that, and the humility of that is in the ability to trust the intuition. So I might go, right, at the end of the street, I really need to turn left, even though technically I probably should turn right. Like, well, why am I doing that? Well, I can question it, or I can go, no, it feels really important to turn left. And sure enough, I'll turn left, and I look to the right as I'm going around and go, oh, that's why. And it's like complete traffic jam. Yeah. It's going to take me 5 minutes theoretically longer to get where I'm going by going left. But actually, had I turned right, you know, on the actual real world of that moment and situation, I'm going to be stuck in traffic for another 25 minutes because, you know, no one's getting out of there. So it's like, all right, well, logic says turn right, intuition says go on left. Better do that then. So, you know, when you're trusting that instinct and it tends to be right as against delusional and wished for, that's another thing, then you tend to head off in the right direction, the correct direction. And you get there. So sometimes it can be, well, how do I know that that intuition was correct? You know, if I'm following it and nothing's happening and everything's just smoothly, like, well, what if maybe I should have actually turned right? Well, if you don't see that the traffic's on the right, well, you miss why that turning left is important. But sometimes if you don't get to see, you know, the uproar of what would have happened if you had gone the other way, then you can sort of think, well, maybe that isn't as important. So this is where psychics and empaths sometimes get a bit stuck because they think, oh, well, everything seems to be easy. So this is where sometimes the doubting of yourself with your intuition, as much as that can seem like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. Why did I do that? Well, that was also important because it has actually shown you were correct in the first place with your instincts. Because when you go against your intuition, it can be just as much of a teaching experience as doing it right, it working out, and you not knowing the difference of what had been if you'd gone the other way. So sometimes in life, if you're having that moment of, oh my God, why did I do that? I knew it. Instead of beating yourself up about it and going, I'm a dumb person, instead say, well, you know what, it was correct. The feeling I got was correct. Okay, I'll deal with this as it is now. The thing to do is not to get into intuition stuff and to constantly go against it, because that is going to backfire. And to develop that instinct of, well, which way should I go, is to actually put it into practice with the smallest things each day. So when I get around the corner, do I feel the traffic lights to be red or green? Ask yourself, get the message. Oh, look, I thought they'd be green. They are. Note it down. Just have practicing sessions of that each week. It'll help you. I'll be back next week and talk some more tarot stuff. And we're going along the major arcana as we go. I'll catch you next week. In the meantime, keep tuned in to A1R Psychic Radio and Moonstruck TV. There's more shows on air, and I'll catch you next week. Lots of love. Bye.